A Minnesota suburb just defied a $150 million legal threat to slam the brakes on data centers. And it's far from alone. From Kentucky courtrooms to a California desert water fight, communities across America are pushing back hard against the AI build-out. Here's what's unfolding right now. It started as a routine zoning question and ended in a shouting match. In the Twin Cities suburb of Inver Grove Heights, Minnesota, the city council voted 3-2 on June 26 to impose a one-year moratorium on new data center construction, pausing all projects while the city studies their impact on the environment and the electrical grid. But the developer didn't go quietly. Florida-based QLevr, which had proposed a 54,000-square-foot data center on Carmen Avenue, sent the city a letter through its attorneys warning that the council's quote unlawful actions may exceed $150 million. Tensions boiled over days earlier when the council abruptly delayed the vote at the last minute, citing new information, a move that left residents who'd shown up to speak shouting in frustration. Inver Grove Heights wasn't alone. Minneapolis passed its own data center moratorium the very same week. That opposition is now making its way into courtrooms. And one Kentucky case shows just how high the stakes have become. In the small city of Cave City, a developer is suing to overturn a moratorium that's blocking one of the largest data center campuses ever proposed in the state. Kentucky Industrial Alliance LLC filed its complaint on June 8 against the city of Cave City, the city council, and the Barren County Planning Commission. The backstory: in May, the firm quietly submitted plans for a project on 380 acres of industrial-zoned land at 2001 Doyle Avenue, a campus envisioned as up to 10 buildings, 2 million square feet, and as much as 1.2 gigawatts of capacity. But before those plans could advance, Cave City passed a 12-month moratorium on data centers. The developer now argues the city exceeded its legal authority and is asking the court to strike the moratorium down. It's a direct test of whether small towns can pause projects of this magnitude. And the conflict isn't always in the courtroom. Sometimes it's over the water itself. In California's Imperial Valley, a developer is pushing to build what would be the single largest data center in the entire state. A hyperscale campus of roughly 1 million square feet, about the footprint of 16 football fields. The company, Imperial Valley Computer Manufacturing, promised 100 permanent jobs and $28.7 million in annual tax revenue. In April, county supervisors cleared a key hurdle by approving a plan to combine several land tracts. Then they reversed course, declaring a 45-day moratorium on data centers and forming a public commission to rethink zoning. The flashpoint is water. The company had originally pledged to use recycled water from nearby cities. But when that plan fell through, it sued the Imperial Irrigation District, demanding 260 million gallons of Colorado River water every single year. In a desert region already stretched thin, that request has turned a construction project into a full-blown resource battle. The strain on resources isn't limited to water. The power grid is buckling too. New figures show just how fast the AI build-out is overwhelming an aging electrical system. U.S. data center electricity demand has nearly doubled in just 3 years, climbing from 23 gigawatts in 2023 to 42 gigawatts today. And analysts project it could reach 108 gigawatts by 2028. That explosive growth is already hitting consumers in the wallet. In the PJM region, which covers 13 states from Illinois to the Mid-Atlantic, capacity market prices surged a staggering 833% between the 2024-25 and 2025-26 delivery years. costs that ultimately flow to ordinary ratepayers. And the grid carrying all this load is old. Roughly 70% of the U.S. system is approaching the end of its life cycle. Much of it built between the 1950s and 1970s. Experts warn the country is heading toward what they call a grid crisis, as demand rises faster than the infrastructure was ever designed to handle. To get ahead of that power crisis, the biggest players are turning to a radical solution: nuclear energy. Meta has announced 3 new partnerships aimed squarely at feeding its rapidly expanding fleet of AI data centers. 2 of the deals are with small modular reactor developers, TerraPower and Oklo, and a third is with the retail electricity giant Vistra. Combined, those agreements could give Meta access to as much as 6.6 gigawatts of nuclear power. That's an enormous figure, and it reflects the scale of what Meta is building. The company's gigawatt-class projects include Prometheus, a 1 gigawatt AI supercluster rising at its New Albany campus in Ohio, and Project Domino in Boone County, Indiana. And Meta is hardly alone. Industry analysts say at least 5 gigawatt-scale AI data centers are expected to come online in 2026, each run by a different hyperscaler, with Zay's Colossus 2 in Memphis targeting one of the fastest build-outs ever attempted. Just 12 months to reach gigawatt scale. But as the industry races ahead, a growing number of lawmakers are starting to pull back the welcome mat. For years, states competed to lure data centers with generous tax breaks. But in 2026, that calculus is shifting fast. Arizona has enacted a 3-year moratorium on its data center sales tax exemption, freezing the incentive from July 1st of this year all the way through June of 2029. In Illinois, Governor J.B. Pritzker directed the state's Economic Development Department to pause data center tax incentives beginning July 1st as well. And in Ohio, Governor Mike DeWine has taken similar action. This is a remarkable reversal for an industry that, until recently, could count on red carpet treatment in nearly every state capital. It's part of a much larger wave. More than 300 data center bills have been filed across over 30 states this year alone, marking a clear pivot from incentives toward regulation, oversight, and demands that the industry pay its own way. Yet despite that regulatory wave, construction is pressing forward, at a scale that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. In Shackelford County, Texas, a sprawling new campus called Stargate Frontier is rising from the rural landscape. It's part of the broader Stargate initiative led by OpenAI, Oracle, and their infrastructure partners. The numbers are staggering. The project is designed for 1.4 gigawatts of AI compute capacity, spans roughly 1,200 acres, and carries a price tag of more than $25 billion. It's being developed by Vantage Data Centers. Stargate Frontier is one of several gigawatt-class campuses now reshaping what hyperscale even means. Alongside Meta's Prometheus in Ohio and Project Domino in Indiana, these are no longer simply large buildings full of servers. They are industrial megaprojects, consuming as much power as a major city. Built in remote areas where land is cheap and electrical infrastructure can be scaled up to feed an almost insatiable demand for artificial intelligence computing. And the money behind all of this construction is almost impossible to comprehend. The largest cloud computing companies have now piled up more than $850 billion in future data center lease commitments. Contracts to rent capacity that hasn't even been built yet. The 2 biggest spenders tell the story. Microsoft's future lease obligations have climbed past $196 billion. Meta's reached nearly $183 billion, after the company added a jaw-dropping $79 billion in lease commitments in a single quarter. And the spending doesn't stop there. Private equity firms are now competing to provide Meta with a loan of between $29 and $35 billion to fund its AI infrastructure ambitions. Overseas, SoftBank has pledged up to 75 billion euros, about $87 billion, to build data centers in France. Taken together, these figures represent one of the largest and fastest capital deployments in the history of modern industry, a global race to build the physical backbone of artificial intelligence. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, subscribe, leave a like, and drop a comment. It helps us cover more of these stories.